Welcome to BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, our daily look at an area football team and the key questions we're going to be answering about that team in our August 17th preseason preview here at Big Country Preps. I'm with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom, and tonight, Dan, we're going down to the heart of Texas. Brady, the Brady Bulldogs, are the topic of conversation tonight.
And this was a Brady team that took a big step forward last year, kind of broke through with that winning season, went 8-4, including a 4-1 run through their district. Got that playoff win, which I saw against Stanton last year in a really gutsy performance. And they got quite a bit back from that team. 15 of their 27 lettermen are back, including 7 offensive and 6 defensive starters. This team that's going to return a ton of skill talent. The one big question mark for them this year is they lost some pretty really dynamic offensive and defensive linemen. They're going to have to find a way to replace those. But I do think that this team will once again be very competitive, and it's going to be fun to kind of see how they do rebuild kind of those lines.
And I'll tell you what, Dan, they've got a couple of good running backs, and you were talking about them a little bit earlier, Thunder and Lightning. You've got J.D. Ibarra, and you've got Zeke Jones. Zeke Jones is a quick guy. Ibarra's a power guy, and some good combination. They've also got Hayden Baronet back at the quarterback spot. So if they get good offensive line play, this could be a dangerous football team.
Yeah, I mean, when you look across the board skill-wise, they've got just a bunch of talent back. You mentioned Ibarra and Jones. Those two guys are really dynamic, game-breaking type running backs. Ibarra is the big one, 6'1", almost 200 pounds, really kind of a bruiser that can really handle a heavy load.
And then should be mentioned, both those guys produced 1,000 yards last year.
Yeah.
They got a couple of 1,000-yard running backs coming back.
Yeah, and that's what makes him tough is you got Ibarra kind of, wearing down the defense, and then Jones will break it long and go for the big one. But a lot of talent in those two guys. And you mentioned Baronet, who I think will take a big step forward in his second year as a starter now. And then at the receiver position, a couple of guys, Keegan Ferris and Izzy Morales, who both had solid seasons for him as well. So really at the skill positions, I mean, they're really well stocked. The one big question is kind of what their offensive and defensive line play will look like. But they have some guys who have kind of been around the program and have done some things, but they are going to have to really fill in some pretty big shoes with some of those seniors they lost last year.
Well, their JV was a respectable 6-4 last year, so they will have the cupboard's not empty. Coming up, they've got some kids that have won some ball games. So if they can fill those holes up front and provide any kind of push for that talent they've got in that backfield, they're going to be tough to stop, and they're going to be contending for one of the upper seeds in that district, no doubt about it.
That's one of the things that I've been I thought was really neat about last year was I've talked to Coach Easterwood quite a bit over the last several years, just in the time that we've covered them. And he's a guy that's really wanted to build a program, top to bottom, to where it is a sustainable program. And you're starting to see that. They had the big breakthrough year last year, and then, like you said, JV teams are putting together solid records. They got a really strong sophomore class coming up. So this program is one that could, I think, compete for a good while. And it was nice to see them have that year last year, which was kind of the evidence that what Coach Easterwood and his staff are doing is working. And I thought that was really cool to see, because I think this staff has really done a good job in terms of, building character and leadership and those sorts of things. It was really neat to see that kind of break through into the win column. And I think you're going to see that again this year. Obviously, in that district, it's going to be really tough with Wall and Early dropping down from Division I. Most people kind of view them as the favorites in that district. But after that, I think, Brady's got a really good shot at that number 3 spot. And who knows, those the early in Wall game should be fun as well.
All right, let's take a quick look at Brady's schedule for this season. The non-district portion of the schedule is challenging, as you would expect it to be. They're coming off an 8-4 season, so people aren't going to be clamoring to face you once you've had a good season like that. So that non-district schedule is going to be a challenge. They have a road date at Comanche. They have a home date against the Mason Punchers, which is going to be very difficult. A road date at Coleman, and that's a very good Coleman football team. Dublin with a lot of skilled personnel. This is the ball club they got beat by on their home field. The Dublin Lions are going to be facing them on the road, and then a solid Cristobal team coming to town on September 23rd, and that will close out the non-district portion. They will be battle tested going into league play.
Yeah, and then they'll have their open date on September 30th and follow that with the district opener at San Angelo TLCA before coming home to face Early on October 14th. Then they will go to Ballinger, to San Angelo Grape Creek, and then finish up November 4th at home against Wall. So like you said, I think they will be battle tested from that non-district schedule. And then really their district schedule is kind of all over the place. There's not top heavy, it's not bottom heavy. It's kind of the challenges are kind of spread out throughout it. It's going to be an interesting schedule, I think.
As with Ballinger, I called the Brady game, at Ballinger is the game of the year for the Ballinger Bearcats. I also look at the road date at Ballinger is going to be a big key for Brady. That's going to be one that they're going to need to win if you assume that Early and Wall are the league favorites, and that would be my viewpoint. Early and Wall should be the league favorites. If that's the case, then that Ballinger game becomes very important if you want a 3 seed for Brady and for Ballinger.
Yeah, I didn't agree. And that one's fun anyway. It's a big rivalry game there, right in the middle of their district schedule. And I think you're right that it will probably decide that number 3 seed. But I am excited also about that home game against Early on October 14th. I think Early's the favorite. I think Early is, along with Wall, is one of the favorites in that district. But I do think that could be a fun game. Early had the big step forward. They've been making steady progress, and they had the big season last year. And it kind of mirrors a little bit what Brady did as well. So you got two teams that are definitely on the upswing, and that could make for a fun game too. And if Brady is somehow able to beat Early there in that second week of the district schedule, they could really get rolling a little bit, which would be kind of neat to see. But that one I think is gonna be a fun matchup as well. But I am with you. I think the game at Ballinger the next week is the game of the year for them.
And with that, it's just about time to wrap up tonight's edition of the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, the Brady Bulldogs. But before we do that, we want to remind you that we've got 3 separate subscription packages here at BigCountryPreps.com. We've got a monthly for $5 a month. We got a semi-annual 6-month subscription where you knock that price down to $4 a month. And then we've got an annual 12-month subscription where we knock that price down to $3 a month. $36 for a full year of Big Country High School athletic coverage. And inflation or no inflation, we haven't raised our prices.
Before we wrap up this episode of our Countdown series, we do want to remind you one more time to be on the lookout for that August 17th preseason football preview. We will just have a ton of area football coverage. You will not want to miss that. In the meantime, thank you for joining us for this episode of our Countdown to Two-A-Days series. And make sure you join us again tomorrow when we will be talking about those early Longhorns here at BigCountryPreps.com.